on the B days this week, we're talking a little bit about the history of the martial arts. And I'll give you what the general consensus is. There's, of course, always going to be revisionist, but in terms of what most historians have written down, the martial arts began basically around 520 AD. All right? At that time, this guy, an Indian prince by the name of Bodhidharma, and he had several other names, depending on how it was translated. Tamo, Damo, Lohan is one that you see a lot, and we'll see in a minute why. Okay? So he leaves India, and he comes up over the mountains, and he comes down into China, and he comes to stay at the Shaolin temple. Now, the word Shaolin means pine forest. So this was a temple out in the woods. All right? And when he got there, he started watching the monks. Now, these monks basically spent their day transcribing text. They would transcribe one book to another, different languages and things, because remember in those days, you couldn't make a copy of a book if you wanted to give it to people. You had to literally make a copy of a book. All right? So as a result, the monks were very weak. They were very feeble. They would fall asleep sometimes when they were meditating. And between the village and the temple was a kind of a rocky path into the woods. And what happened is, of course, everybody knew that the monks were kind of weak. Robbers would set themselves up around that path, and the monks were in danger every time they went in the town for supplies or donations that people in the village would give them. Okay? So Bodhidharma sees all this and he says, okay, we've got to do something. These are nice guys, and they need to be in better shape. So he began teaching them a series of breathing techniques. So it wasn't just breathing, it was breathing in motion techniques, kind of an aerobic type of a workout. And what he did is he took different motions, and the first one, you see it up there, these, putting them all together, let me just make sure we're, yes, these became known as the 18 hands of Lohan. And there's all kind of wonderful controversies about that you can read about online, but just put in 18 hands of Lohan and you'll see at least what's been written down as these particular drills. All right, one of them, and you'll still see this today a lot, we even do this sometimes in a seminar to sort of catch your breath, is you start with your hands down by your waist and you inhale on the way up and then exhale on the way down. So you'll see people sometimes in a seminar, we have people from other studios, and they've worked some of these things. You'll say, it's a way to just sort of catch your breath. All right? Now, these 18 drills became known as the first martial arts curriculum. All right? Because what happened is, see, these monks got better, they got stronger, and then the next thing they knew, going out to get their supplies and donations, the robbers, they weren't afraid of anymore because their breathing now made them stronger. They were able to use their muscles more, and eventually the weapons became a part of what they're doing, the walking stick. And so they got a slightly different reputation. Now, based on that then, as the years went by, what they did is they began studying animals. They thought, well, we're in the woods, we've got animals, we've got folklore, let's look into how different animals defend themselves, aggressive, offensive motions. And what they did is they came together with 5 animals that they made the heart of original, what we would call today, Kung Fu. And those were the tiger, the dragon, the snake, the leopard, and the crane. I got all those right. All right? And from the tiger came courage and power. From the leopard, there was speed and agility. The snake, the suppleness, it was able to kind of shape itself to its environment and its endurance. The crane gave them balance, gave them grace. The dragon gave them that fighting spirit. It's not our dragon, not the dragon that we think of in the Western countries, but their folklore was the dragon was sort of a highly evolved thing that sort of had wisdom. It had that stick-to-itiveness. And this was the original patch that Mr. Parker put on the uniforms. I remember being a kid and seeing this in the black belt magazines and thinking, oh my God, well, I'd like to have one day. And if you notice, we've got this used to have the dragon and the tiger on it. So those two animals, the tiger representing sort of like the earthly power, physical strength, and then the dragon representing sort of like the more mature, spiritual type of wisdom. The dragon is always looking upwards, trying to get toward the tiger's looking upwards towards the dragon, and the dragon just sort of floats around in there. All right? When you see any of the old Kempo movies, Perfect Weapon came out years ago. I don't recommend it for the children. It's not a family-friendly movie by any means. But they talk a little bit about that philosophy, how you're the tiger until you really gain control of yourselves. Then you sort of evolve into the wisdom of the dragon. And they had a two-sided ring that they used, which is not a part of Kempo, but some people have taken it from the movie. One side you were the tiger, you flip it over, you were the dragon. So the idea was to bring those two together into one person. All right? So that became basically what we would say the Chinese martial arts Kung Fu. And as the monks spread out from Shaolin, they went into the different countries that were around them. And that's really how today's martial arts got started. They traveled from China over to Okinawa, to Korea, to Japan. And those 4 countries that became really the birthplace of everything that we really know of as today. Karate, as we know it today here in the United States, and basically as it's practiced around the world, really began in the late 1800s. All right, when countries from that China base began taking these motions and categorizing them, systematizing them, and making the martial arts in the forms that we see today. When people say martial arts go back thousands and thousands of years, well, I guess what they're saying is, like the root of it does, but the martial arts that we know today, the names that are out there, Kempo was born basically in the mid-60s, the way we know it today. There were other variations of it, but it wasn't organized. It was just a bunch of stuff. And now we have names for techniques, everything is sort of broken down like that. Okay? So that's basically how the martial arts got started, from there to here. And what we'll do next time is, by looking at the culture that the arts were influenced by as they left China, we'll go over some of the terms and some of the meanings of what traditional martial arts would use today. The word karate is not an American word, it's not English, but it's become part of our culture. We know that. Kung Fu, again, is another art. All these have had Eastern beginnings. And we'll take a little bit of a look at that so that you've got a bit more of an understanding of that as well as the karate as well. Okay, so you want to train the mind and the body so you know what you're doing. Okay? Great. I hope that helped. And if you have questions, please come on up when you get done. Give yourselves a hand.